Do you really want to risk your entire career for these creatures? Yep.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
This week's Amphibia episodes were, lack of a better phrasing, the calm before the storm that's going to go down next week. Even though these episodes weren't really lightly toned per se, I guess because I'm still recovering from what happened last week, that anything even remotely more wholesome than that I consider calm now. I'm sure I'll be good by the end of next year though. Yeah, next year, you heard me right. Let's get into these episode breakdowns though, shall we? Before I can even talk about the episodes themselves, I have to point out that the theme song has once again been updated. Marcy is no longer inside her rejuvenation tank, being replaced by her new self, Darcy. Still not too keen on that being the canon name, but I gotta get used to it. Now for the first episode, Hollywood Hop Pop. We open with Anne and the Plantars on a Hollywood tour downtown. The way this started reminded me a lot of the way Lost in Utopia started, if you remember that episode, although these two episodes went in very different directions. Hop Pop has become very intrigued with how much actors are respected on Earth, hoping that he might have a shot at making it here, even though he didn't make it in Amphibia. I very much appreciate that his love of acting has become a core part of his character since early season 2. If the crew wanted to, in theory, they could have made this episode more random, like Hop Pop wanting to become a chef or something just out of impulse, but they're keeping things well in line with how he acted in previous episodes, which I appreciate. But Anne still wants to keep a low profile in public out of fear of being spotted by Mr. X again. The moment I heard that line, I knew he was going to appear in this episode before I even saw him, and I'm so happy he did. Of course, Hop Pop goes off running on his own in hopes of getting his big break. While he's running, we're able to spot Tyler Purplehair, who's made several cameo appearances in a row now, having his picture taken by Karen. Well, I mean, Emily. That one girl from Adventures in Cat Sitting. Perhaps I'm uncultured, but this guy is supposed to be an Elmo reference, right? I didn't watch that much Sesame Street or Muppets, but I have a feeling he's might be referencing something more specific than Elmo. I'm honestly not sure. You know, let me know in the comments if I'm bugging or not, please. Hop Pop soon reaches a line of elderly folk and bumps into one Humphrey Westwood. If he looks familiar, it's because he was teased along the rest of the human characters in the season 3 opening, being the second to last one to make his debut. And if his voice sounded familiar to anyone, it may be because you've heard his voice actor Wallace Shawn in the Toy Story franchise as Rex the Dinosaur. Humphrey is an aspiring actor just like Hop Pop who's been waiting 45 years to get his big break, and has a day job as a janitor at a Hollywood film lot. Humphrey was nice enough to let Hop Pop take his spot in line to audition first. Throughout this episode, I kept thinking that Humphrey might turn out to be a villain working for Mr. X because he just seemed too nice to me. And I really shouldn't be automatically thinking that at this point because we've seen many human characters on Earth are trustworthy. I think what got me was how the episode kept freezing on Humphrey's face whenever he smiled or did something nice. I thought right when Hop Pop would walk away, he'd show his true intentions or something like that, and I'm glad that never happened. The audition Hop Pop is doing is for an elbow cream commercial, which isn't going great at first, until he yells out a "say what" that encapsulates the entire staff, earning him the part.
Flavor Flav!
Once again, I love Humphrey's attitude. If there's any character in Amphibia that perfectly represents the concept of never giving up on your dreams, it's him. Dude's been trying to put his foot in the door for 45 years and still keeps it positive. Seeing Hop Pop feel guilt regardless of Humphrey's nice attitude not only set up Hop Pop's inevitable change of heart about his career by the end of the episode, but shows off his biggest character quality, how much he cares for others' well-being and success. Back at the Boonchoy home, Anne freaks out because Hop Pop's commercial is being broadcast across every TV channel. Anne once again worrying about Mr. X seeing the commercial, but her parents attempt to reassure her that he's a busy federal employee, so the likelihood of him catching on this early is extremely low. Well, thank God he caught on because I missed him. He kept the pet store frogs from his debut episode, by the way. That's so adorable. Also, there's pictures of RuPaul in drag attire on the fridge, so he's technically got pictures of himself on the fridge. How does that work, actually? I'm not sure. He's also got a cute little Galaga fridge magnet there. As he's watching the show Judge Julie, which is meant to be a parody of the real-life show Judge Judy, Hop Pop's commercial comes on. Mr. X instantly recognizes Hop Pop and is able to figure out where the commercial was filmed thanks to his government tech. And if you looked in the background while he's talking about not paying for ad-free streaming, he has pictures of not only Hop Pop in disguise, but Mr. and Mrs. Boonchoy too. Anne and the Plantars are back on the Hollywood tour bus following Anne's mission of getting the commercials pulled. Seems like it's too little too late though, as there's posters, billboards, and even merchandise with Hop Pop's face plastered all over them, reciting the say what catchphrase. Oh damn, the t-shirt stand accepts Venmo, Venmo's evil cousin company. Which app do I support? I'm honestly not sure. Anne later gets a call on her phone from famous director Mitch Harbor, who directed 3 of the Fumigator movies, a franchise that's been shown briefly throughout Amphibia media. He tells Hop Pop he'll get a part in his new movie if he just shows up to the audition. Hop Pop's frantic excitement from the call not only gets a crowd's attention, but Mr. X's as well. Hop Pop is able to get away unknowingly, while Anne, Sprig, and Polly begin their plan of finding Hop Pop before Mr. X. And once all of them get to the film lot, a golf cart chase ensues between the 5 of them. They all drive through different lots showing the filming process of several franchises in Amphibia's universe, like Tarantulas, Suspicious Suspicion Island, and Prim Thistle Manor. Turns out the actors from that show in particular, from down south I guess. After being able to shake Mr. X for a bit, Hop Pop reunites with Humphrey, realizing it's time he returned the favor Humphrey did for him earlier. And because the two of them look so similar, Mitch didn't suspect a thing. This switch got Mr. X off Hop Pop's tail and made him look like an idiot in front of his employees again, killing two birds with one stone. Also, I'm not sure if that scene towards the end confirmed Jenny is actually a girl or not, or if that's just how Mr. X talks to those close to him. Either way, good stuff. Please tell me those final scenes weren't Hop Pop death flags. Protecting what he has, no longer being on camera. Director! I'm scared. Now for the second episode, If You Give a Frog a Cookie. This one opens with Anne baking cookies in an attempt to make the planters feel better. They've been more homesick than usual, trying to make a pond in the Boonchoy's backyard and even constructing a mini version of Wartwood to play with. Mrs. Boonchoy insists Anne stops giving them things because the planters need to cope on their own, which I 1000% agree with, and so does Anne. Unfortunately, Anne isn't able to follow through on her mother's advice, especially after she gets a call from Dr. Jan. Jan found a lead on a scientist named Dr. Frakes who might be able to help the planters get back to Amphibia. But she doesn't want Anne jumping the gun just yet out of fear that Dr. Frakes will turn out to be a loose cannon. And that fear ended up being 100% justified. Since the planners overheard the call, Anne felt pressured into giving them good news about getting home with all the guilty faces and moping they did. Even if they weren't trying to pressure Anne intentionally, it still came off that way because of how vocal they were. Later in the day, the gang arrives at Dr. Frakes' Brainasium, which is like a children's science museum mixed with a playscape. It's got VR and even snacks. Yeah, that better be your sister you're holding hands with, because if you're cheating on Tyler, I swear to God. Anne knocks on the director's office door, and we're introduced to the final character that was teased from the season 3 human lineup, Terry, who's voiced by none other than Kate Micucci. Steven Universe fans would know her as Sadie Miller. And I don't mean to toot my own horn, but I have not missed when it comes to calling who's going to voice who. How does he do it?
How does he do that?
Terry informs the gang Dr. Frakes is only available by appointment, but after seeing how sad the planners got again, Anne lied and said they were working for the media, which Dr. Frakes overhears, eagerly wanting to show them her portal to another dimension. Dr. Frakes is voiced by voice acting industry titan Cree Summer, who's had awesome roles like Valerie from Danny Phantom, Number 5 from Codename Kids Next Door, and Susie Carmichael from the Rugrats franchise, just to name a few. Just from the first few lines she says before we even see the portal, we get a pretty good idea that Dr. Frakes seems to care more about being famous through science than using her knowledge for good, and Terry has just been putting up with it because Dr. Frakes is a renowned string theory expert. You know, working with Frakes is good for her career. Frakes explains the origin of the portal began a few months ago. When Anne opened the Calamity Box that day, the entire city of Los Angeles was hit with a wave of odd energy. This energy wave affected science equipment in Dr. Frakes' lab that opened a smaller portal to Amphibia for a brief time. And did you guys catch the Skip Man that was sucked through the portal? That's the same Skip Man that Curator Pons had on display at his Curiosity Hut. Don't you just love it when details from several episodes ago get explained and or tied together later on? It's the best. Ever since that day, Dr. Frakes has been able to repeat the anomaly several times, but nobody believes her, even opening portals to other worlds besides Amphibia. See the biggest distorted screen on the left there? Yes, it's actually the Owl House. Dr. Frakes has been able to open a portal to the Boiling Isles. The Amphibia X Owl House multiverse is real, fellas. It's real. I know it's likely just an Easter egg, but one can dream, can't they? I'm not sure what the other pixelated screens are depicting, though. They look too vague to make out with my eyes. If any of you guys have any ideas what they could be, feel free to say something. Dr. Frakes opens the portal after Anne unwillingly agrees to it, showing another world that isn't Amphibia. The Shadowfish world, perhaps? When the portal closes, a giant shockwave is unleashed, causing the planners to lose their disguises and admit to Dr. Frakes who they really are. That's how desperately they want to get back. That's the first time they've been so blunt with humans they just met about who they actually are. Unfortunately, Dr. Frakes is more concerned about how famous she'll become if she dissects the planners rather than helping them get home. Anne, who's now joined by Terry, tries to stop Frakes. By the time Anne reaches the dissection lab, the planners are already tied up, and she can't break the glass window either. But Terry arrives with her keycard, willing to risk her field in science if it means doing the right thing. They're able to rescue the planners, but Frakes refuses to give up. If it wasn't for Anne still having leftover cookies to use as bait, they wouldn't have been able to get out. I guess cookies really do solve all of life's problems. Now driving on the freeway with Terry, Anne is sad that Terry lost her job. But Terry reassures Anne this was a blessing in disguise, because this experience showed helping others with science is way more important than helping yourself. She may have lost that mindset if she continued to work with Frakes for more time. The episode ends with Terry offering to build a new portal together with Anne that'll be even better than Frakes' portal. I'm curious how this plot point is going to be explored, to be honest. Is most of the science work going to be done off screen with the portal being basically done by next week's episode? Because Andreas is literally pulling up next week, so it just makes me wonder how this portal will even become relevant in the future, that's all. If the Calamity Box ends up being destroyed or thrown into the void, I guess that's one way. And I'm also kind of surprised we didn't get any information about the Mother of Ohms this episode, since we got stuff with Dr. Jan and, a scientist. We'll just have to wait and see, though. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like down below. It helps out a ton. But for now, I will see you guys next time. Peace out. Take care. Bye-bye.